All right. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to begin with our Fulton State Expedited Accusation Calendar. This is a list of misdemeanor criminal cases. Individuals have been recently arrested and booked into the Fulton County Jail. A bond being booked at the Fulton County Jail, the cases were then accused by the prosecutor, that is the Solicitor General's Office of Fulton County. This would be the defendant's initial appearance before a judicial officer. When I call your case, you will be informed of what your accusation number is, what are the charges that have been brought against you and the accusations, and who's going to be your attorney. We'll also address the issue of your bond, if it needs to be readdressed or whether it needs to be set, and also possibly give you a new court date. So, Ms. Lewis, may I have the next court date?
Judge, that will be May the 4th for the SAP.
For some of you, you may receive another court date, which is going to be May 4th, 2023 at 9 a.m. And if you do receive that particular date, we will be addressing you via Zoom in those particular matters. If you are a defendant accused of one or more misdemeanor criminal offenses, please remember these rights. The first one is the right to remain silent. Anything you choose to say during the course of this virtual proceeding, your statements can and will be used against you. Remember, this virtual proceeding is being recorded and live streamed. So please be mindful of whatever you say, because your statements will be documented and used against you. You have a right to an attorney. If you cannot afford one, we do have public defense counsel as well as attorneys from our conflict defense list who may represent you. So we're going to begin with which position, courtroom 2?
Position 1. This court.
This is State versus Azizi Acquart, accused of criminal trespass from April 20th, 2023. Mr. Acquart, case number is 23CR002476E. Mr. Acquart, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Ms. Wills. This is his 13th arrest. Mr. Howard, anything else to add?
On probation for simple assault, family violence. 23CR001682D. Cruelty in the first degree, 18SC161117. On probation in Gwinnett, arson in the second degree, possession of tools for the commission of a crime. Probation in Cherokee, possession of tools, criminal damage to property, second degree. Criminal attempt to commit a felony. 2018 probation, 2017 shoplifting.
I'm sorry, I'm just stopping for a moment. In the first case you mentioned, the simple assault domestic violence, when was his sentence date?
On the 11th of this month.
Oh,
I don't know who the judge was, though. State probably know. That's it.
All right, thank you. Ms. Bickerstaff, what's the recommendation for Mr. Acquart?
Yes, Your Honor. Just quickly for the record, this incident occurred yesterday at 10 Park Place, South Atlanta, where the defendant refused to leave a behavioral health outpatient center when told. For these reasons, our recommendation is a $1,000 surety bond and to stay away from the behavioral health outpatient center at 10 Park Place, South Atlanta.
Oh, just one second. Could Mr. Kiki please start his video? K-E-K-E.
That's why I can't see.
Someone named Kiki, could you please start your video?
I don't want to be on camera.
All right. Ms. Lewis, could you please remove Kiki from the Zoom?
Ms. Grace is in charge of that.
Ms. Grace, please remove the individual Kiki from the Zoom and leave them in the waiting room until we're ready to address them. Thank you.
Okay, Judge.
Thank you, ma'am. Sorry about that, Ms. Bickerstaff. I think you were recommending a $1,000 surety bond and stay away from 10 Park Place. Anything else?
Just no alcohol, drugs, or weapons while on bond.
All right, thank you. Ms. Wills?
Thank you, Your Honor. In speaking with my client, he states that he does go to the Center for Mental Health Treatment. And he has reported that this was a misunderstanding. I would request that if there is no ban from him being on the premises, that he be allowed to go back there if he has an appointment or a medical emergency. Outside of that, he does state that he is employed by Blue Lagoon, and he also does landscaping work. He is the father of 3 children. So for those reasons, I would be asking for a signature on bond. And if your honor is not so inclined, I would ask for a $500 surety bond.
We are going to go with $1,000 surety bond to stay away from the behavioral health outpatient center. He will need to look for another location to seek that similar treatment. His next court date is May 4th, and probation will have to visit his probation matter in light of this new arrest. Thank you. Next case, please.
Position 11, Ms. Smith.
This is State versus Keosha D. Smith, accused of battery, domestic violence, and cruelty in the 3rd degree from April 20th, 2023. Ms. Smith, this would be her 2nd arrest. She had a 2020 license suspension. Her case number presently is 23 CR 002-471G. Ms. Smith, you've been advised of your right. You've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your public defense or defense counsel, would she need conflict? Ms. Wills?
Yes, Your Honor, this is a conflict case. Ms. Keosha Smith?
Okay.
Yes.
And do we have any conflict counsel here at the present? Okay.
Judge, Ms. McLeod is supposed to be representing this individual. There's 2 on the counter for today's conflict. She was just on. I don't know what happened to her.
Miss Maureen McLeod? I don't see her, but she knows she's supposed to come on to this Zoom.
She was on earlier when we start the session. I don't know what happened to her at this point. She may come back on.
Deputy, I think the conflict counsel may be having technical issues. Can we address Ms. Smith later on?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Position 8, Ms. Mayfield.
Ms. Wills, is this a conflict case as well?
No.
Okay, thank you.
No.
This is State versus Monique Mayfield, 23 CR 002-478C. Ms. Mayfield has been accused of battery, domestic violence from an incident of April 20th, 2023. This would be her 3rd arrest. And Mr. Jones, what is this? Oh, I'm sorry. Ms. Mayfield, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney will be Rose Woodbury. Mr. Jones, what's the state's recommendation for bond?
Yes, Your Honor. So the state does believe that Ms. Mayfield is a danger to the community, as she performed this act in front of 2 witnesses that witnessed her visibly scratch and slap her boyfriend during a verbal altercation. Also, she's a multi-state offender, as she had a 2021 charge in Las Vegas for, again, domestic violence. For those reasons, the state is asking for a $3,000 surety bond, no further contact with the victim.
Astupian? James Astupian?
Yes, Your Honor, I'm sorry.
All right, thank you. Ms. Woodbury, what's your recommendation?
Good afternoon, Your Honor. We are asking for a signature bond today, and in support of that, I want to inform the court of a few things. Miss Mayfield is 31 years old. She is working at Bank of America as a customer service representative. She's working full-time. She actually recently moved to Georgia from California, and she's never lived with this man, James Astupian. He was in Georgia, she was in California. They were scheduled to move in together yesterday at this 1099 Boulevard Southeast. Her name is on the lease, his is not. This is her place that she was renting. Again, they were not residing there together. They were scheduled to move in yesterday is my understanding from her. She is a high school graduate, has some college, is not a convicted felon. So we would be asking for a signature bond, Your Honor.
All right. With regards to Miss Monique Mayfield, the bond is going to be set at $5,000. It's going to be a signature bond through pretrial services. Miss Mayfield is going to have no further contact with James Astupian. Now, if Mr. Astupian is living at 1099 Boulevard in Atlanta, Georgia, then she cannot return to that location. She may file the appropriate dispossessory action if she believes that Mr. Astupian should not be residing at that facility. But presently, if she can go back one time only to verify whether Mr. Astupian has moved in there, and if he has, she needs to find an alternative place to stay and update the court with her new address within 30 days. While she's out on a signature bond, she will also do 12 anger management classes at her expense, and those classes must begin within 60 days of being released. No alcohol, no drugs, no weapons. And her next court date will be sent to the address that she provides, either the current one at Boulevard or whichever address she moves to within the next 30 days. Thank you.
Position 4, Ms. Harandi Fassi.
This is Lida Harandifasi, accused of battery, family violence, cruelty in the 3rd degree, and willful obstruction of a law enforcement officer. Ms. Harandifasi, this incident date occurred on April 19th, 2023. Your accusation number is 23 CR 002-473A. You've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is it Ms. McLeod or Ms. Strickler? Which
It's
one?
Ms. Strickler.
All right. Ms. Fassi has, this is a first arrest, so we're going to proceed with Ms. Bickerstaff. What's the state recommendation for bond?
Yes, Your Honor. Just briefly for the record, this incident occurred at 1006 Cherbury Lane in Johns Creek against her husband, Ali Turkesh. I'm sorry if I spelled that wrong, pronounced that wrong. But this is where officers arrived in response to a verbal dispute where officers observed a laceration to Mr. Ali's neck where the defendant struck him with the iPhone cord, causing significant bleeding, Your Honor. The defendant told officers that her husband had pushed her, but when asked to show the injuries, she stated she put makeup on them, Your Honor. And officers asked the defendant whether their daughter witnessed the incident, in which she said that her daughter was there. And so when officers spoke to her daughter, the daughter told officers that the defendant pushed her father several times and that she hit her father. The defendant hit her father and that the father was trying to escape, Your Honor. Furthermore, officers noted that the defendant resisted arrest, even stating that she was resistant and the officers had to drag her to the police cruiser. Our victim advocate did speak to Mr. Ali, her husband, today, and he told our advocate that they are married and they've been married for 17 years, and that he called the police for this incident and that he loves his wife. However, the state's recommendation for this is a $4,000 surety bond, $3,000 for the battery, and $500 for the other 2 charges, Your Honor. We're asking for 1-day anger awareness, a third-party transfer with their children, no further contact with her husband, Mr. Ali, and to stay away from that 1006 Cherbury Lane address, as well as no alcohol, drugs, or weapons while out on bond.
I'm sorry, what was that bond recommendation?
It's a $4,000 surety bond.
Okay, I thought I heard signature bond. Okay, Ms. Strickler?
Yes, good afternoon, Your Honor, and thank you. Miss Lida, I'll call her by her first name, Lida. She's 55 years old, never been in trouble before, never been arrested. She's a dentist, so she's got an advanced degree beyond high school and college. and has had her dental practice for more than 10 years, has lived in Atlanta for 25 years. As you see on the screen, her husband is here and present. So I'm asking for her to have no violent contact with the victim, and then more importantly, lower the bond to $500 per charge. So it would be $1,500 total.
Do they live in
May I
separate
sound
locations?
for- I'm sorry, may I sound
Well-
for her husband?
Yes, I'm going to address that. Ms. Strickler, from the
Yes.
one I gather they have two residences, so will
Yeah,
they stay away from each other?
The one that she lives at is the 2010 Westbourne, and the one that you're speaking of is where I think he lives.
Sherbury Lane?
Yes, I'm
Okay.
sorry.
All right, and did you, I'm so sorry, I think it was Mr. Ali Tarkish. Did you want to address the court? If you do, then you have
Yes.
to unmute. All right, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear the information you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
I swear.
Yes, sir. What would you like to tell us?
I want to tell you that I live with my wife for 17 years old. That was the first incident that we had. The cable, actually, the wire from the devices, that was the accident, came to my neck, and that was not the massive blood, that was the minor blood. And is the first time in our whole life that we are dealing with this situation. She's professional and she's my best coach, and we have two kids, and we have one daughter which is 14 years old, and she needs both of us.
And did she witness this incident?
No, she was not there. I don't know where the basically this information came from. By the time she came for the cell phone that she was with her, and we had some argument, just minor argument, but not physical argument when my daughter came.
All right, thank you. On the battery is going to be 2,500. On the cruelty is going to be 1,000. And on the willful obstruction is going to be 500. This is going to be a $4,000 signature bond through pretrial services. Ms. Strickler, these are the conditions for your client. No further contact with Ali Tarkish. Mr. Tarkish may continue to reside at the Sherbury Lane in Jog Creek, but Dr. Harandipasi has to reside at the Westbourne Way. She's to stay 200 yards away from Mr. Tarkish, not have any form of communication with him, whether it's verbal, in person, through a third party, or on social media. No computer or cell phone communication. And the defendant shall also, I'm going to allow for third party transfer of any minor children. So there has to be a third party who handles the communication for visitation and custody of the children while this case is pending. While the defendant is out on a signature bond, she will attend and complete a domestic violence intervention program, and that must begin within 60 days of release. We're going to note, she needs to also confirm that her current address from today onwards is the 2010 Westbourne Way. I don't know what city that was in. Was it Alpharetta or Johns Creek? I can't recall.
Alpharetta.
Okay. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, no firearms, and no weapons. Her next court date will be sent to a new address for the preliminaries, and that's it. Anything else, Ms. Strickler?
Your Honor, did you address the contact? If so, I just didn't hear it.
I said no further contact with Mr. Tarkish. She has to stay 200 yards away from him. No electronic contact and no social media contact.
And Your Honor won't consider the no violent contact?
I would, but given Mr. Tarkish's version of of events, which starkly differ from the officer's sworn report, I have great concerns. So I am keeping a no further contact until someone can flesh out exactly where we are.
Thank you, Your Honor.
The defendant has a right to remain silent. Anything she chooses to say can and will be used against her in a court of law. She has counsel to speak on her behalf. Dr. Harandipasi, do you have something to say?
I wanted to say that we very much need to co-parent our kids, our daughter.
And I'm going to stop you right there. When something like this happens, you put your home life in the hands of the court. And this has to be resolved before you can resume a normal home life. And right now, like I said, the allegations set forth in the warrant differ starkly from the events that I'm hearing right now. So this has to be resolved before this kind of contact can be resumed. Thank you.
Thank
Yes,
you.
Mr. Clarkish, what did you want to say?
I'm sorry, I tried to. Your Honor, we are living in this for 17 years and together, and that was the first incident that we had.
All right, Mr.
Like
Tarkish.
this.
All right, Mr. Tarkish. I don't want you to read, I don't want to read the warrant in open court because it will be an embarrassment to you. So I would highly recommend that you speak to Ms. Strickler if she will speak with you and go over the details of the warrant.
I completely understand. Thank you very
Right.
much.
Thank you. Next case, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. May I be excused?
Yes, Ms. Strickler, have a good day. Thank you.
Excuse me, Judge. Apparently, Mr. James Everett.
Yes, I do see him there. Yes,
Yeah.
I do see him there. All right. Who do we
Position-
have in the chair, please?
Position 7,
7.
Ms. Kincaid.
Okay, and we can take the next conflict case. I think I saw Ms. McLeod chime in also.
Okay.
This is Camille Sky Kincaid, 23 CR 002-486Y. Ms. Kincaid is accused of simple battery domestic violence from April 20th, 2023. Ms. Kincaid, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Ms. Woodbury. This is Ms. Kincaid's first arrest. Mr. Jones, what's the state's recommendation on bond?
Yes, Your Honor. Excuse me. The state is gravely concerned about the risk to intimidate the witness, given that the victim here is Ms. Kincaid's mother, and there was a fight that ensued in which Ms. Kincaid punched and then proceeded to take her mother to the ground where she choked her, Your Honor. And there is actually a strangulation report where we spoke with the victim in which she said that the pressure felt like a 7 on a scale of 1 to 10, and that she almost passed out and she was in pain the next day. For those reasons, we are going to request a $3,000 surety bond, no further contact with the victim, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons, a FVIB, and a BHET, Your Honor. And at the appropriate time, we will ask for the court to sound for the victim.
Right. I do see Ms. Kincaid present via Zoom. Ms. Delicia Kincaid, if you would like to contribute to the proceedings, you have to start your video.
Okay.
Do you solemnly swear and affirm the test? Raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
All right. What would you like to tell us?
There were a couple of concerns. I spoke with 2 people this morning. The state prosecutor wasn't one, but what was discussed during the call, yes, there was strangulation. There was no pain this morning, but my throat was sore yesterday. And I'm pretty sure the call that I had this morning was recorded. So if it was played back, that I confirmed more than once that there was no pain today. The other thing that I wanted to be considered for her, she's a 17-year-old minor. She does well in school, and this is not typical of her behavior. She has been through a lot in the past couple of years, and specifically the past month. She's been diagnosed with depression in January, and I've been trying to get her back into some counseling sessions so that way we can help her. In 2019, my husband, her father, passed away. The next 2 years, we dealt with 7 suicide attempts from her brother, which has been a very stressful time. Then we got it together for her brother. He graduated and he went off to college. So she had some separation anxiety regarding that. And since my husband passed, the one person from his family that was here that was helping us has, he's left, he's in a compromising situation. So we don't have the support we once had. In addition, in just the past month and a half, February 21st exact, I flew out of town to take care of my mother, her grandmother, who was in ICU. that very same day, Camille was in a car accident. She was out of commission a little bit, recuperating from a car accident. And as soon as she got better from that, she actually got very, very sick, where she missed 2 weeks of school, vomiting and throwing up because of a virus.
Ms. Kincaid, are you comfortable with her being back home with you?
I
Under
am.
those circumstances?
I am comfortable with her being back home. What I would really like to see happen for her is to get some help with the depression and anger management.
If I order that, it would have to be done out of her own pocket.
As long as that saves my baby, I don't want her to try to hurt herself, and I don't want her to be scarred by this. She made a mistake, not thinking, being emotional, going through her depressive state. And I love my baby very dearly. She's a smart girl, makes great grades. She just needs another chance.
All right, thank you. Ms. Woodbury?
Yes, Your Honor. As Delizia Kincaid said, Camille Kincaid, she's 17. This is her first arrest. She's in 11th grade at Benneker High School. She's even enrolled in AP US History, so she is a good student, as her mother says. She also works 24 hours a week at Chick-fil-A, and she tells me she got that job to try to help contribute some money to the household. Judge, she's born in Atlanta, been in Georgia her whole life. We would ask for a signature bond, and we'd ask that she be able to return to the residence. She tells me she doesn't know where else she would go. We want her to be able to finish school. Those are our requests today.
All right. A bond is going to be set at $4,500. It's going to be a signature bond through pretrial services. No further violent contact with Delizia Kincaid. That's no further violent contact. She may return to the Manchester Street location. I believe that's, I wonder if that's home. No illegal drugs, no weapons, no firearms, and no alcohol. And within 60 days of being released and reporting to pretrial, she must enroll in either a mental health treatment or a behavioral health treatment, and proof of that must be shown to pretrial. In other words, she and her family must actively seek out a physician where she's ongoing, a psychiatrist or therapy, where she is seeking ongoing treatment, and proof of that ongoing treatment must be provided to pretrial as a condition of the bond. Ms. Camille Kincaid, you are 17 years old, but you are old enough to be in jail. You may not be old enough to sign a contract. You might not be old enough to put yourself in the military, but you're old enough to be in jail. And the nature of the charge that was brought against you, I wouldn't be surprised if this wasn't a felony charge, which means that you would be staying in jail for the next few months without a bond. So the fact that you're right now being charged with a misdemeanor is a blessing in itself. But if you don't comply with the conditions of your bond, if you don't move forward from your past, you'll find yourself being in deeper trouble than what you are in now. Like I said, 17 years old, you're now a big girl and you are entitled to be in jail if they charge you with additional felony charges. Next court date is going to be sent to an address at Manchester Street. Thank you.
All right, two things.
Co-signer?
You want, well, that too.
I'll allow the mother to be the co-signer. Ms. Kincaid?
Yes.
You need to come down to pretrial services. You need to bring down your government issue ID and co-sign the bond, and we will waive the utility. What was the other thing, Mr. Howard?
You want to assign her to a pretrial MH officer?
Yeah, that would be good.
All right.
I want to see ongoing treatment.
All right.
Thank you.
Need the mother to stay on so I can send her the address for the
All right.
chat.
Ms. Kincaid, you need to check the chat feature, and the pretrial will send you information on how to co-sign this case. All
Yes,
right, we're
ma'am.
back
Thank
to position number 11. This is Keosha Smith, 23 CR 002471G. The attorney is Ms. McLeod. And Ms. McLeod, there you are. Okay, good.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon. Ms. Smith has been advised of her rights and she's charged with battery, family violence, and cruelty in the third degree. Mr. Jones, what's the state's recommendation?
Yes, Your Honor. As the charge indicate, the defendant has a risk of intimidation of the witnesses, as this was her boyfriend at the time, and she essentially hit him in the face and pulled out a almost half of his dreadlocks. In addition to that, his name is going to be Mr. John Lattimore. That's John Lattimore, common spelling. It is all caught on video, Your Honor. Therefore, the state's recommendation is going to be a $3,000 surety bond, no further contact with Mr. Lattimore, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons, and to stay away from the 320 Fairburn Road Southwest address.
All right, thank you. I do see Mr. Lattimore on Zoom. Seems to have a full head of hair, but if you want to contribute, I'll need to place you on oath. Would you like to say something?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony provided will be the truth to the best of your knowledge? What would you like to tell us?
I would like to start off by saying my hair was not fully pulled out. You can visibly see I have a full head of hair. I also want to say that I've been knowing Ms. Smith for over 10 years. We've been together around 6, and we have never had like a violent altercation. It was no weapons. She's never been violent towards me nor kids. She's actually a great mother. Other than that, I would, if you must do a no contact, I would say that I would leave the residence, because that is her residence, and she actually does stay there if that's has to be an option. But I will actually want non-violent contact if that's an option, Your Honor.
And when would you be moving out?
I actually have most of my things. I would just have to get the rest of my things out. So I guess today.
No, I didn't ask you how far you are and you moving out. I asked you, when are you moving out?
I mean, I'm kind of already moved out, I guess. So I'm already gone.
All right. Ms. McLeod?
Yes, Your Honor. My client is 28 years old. She is the mother of 3 children. The oldest of whom is 13 and the youngest 9 years old. And she is the breadwinner for these children. The address which was given, as Mr. Lattimore stated, this is her home, Your Honor. She's lived there for some time, and the children also live there. So any order which would say that she can't go back there would essentially deprive her and her children of a home, because she is their parent. The father of the children is involved, but the children actually do live with my client. I would ask the court to consider giving my client a signature bond so that she can get out of jail and get back to taking care of her children. As Mr. Lattimore stated, something that has happened before between them, and he's not afraid of my client. So we would prefer a situation for no further violent contact, Your Honor. Nothing further.
Does he share with, does he share any of the children with her?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. On the battery is going to be 2,500. On the cruelty is going to be 1,000. That's a total of a 3,500 signature bond through pretrial. Ms. Smith can sign up for a bond. She can return to the location as long as Mr. Lattimore has completely vacated and does not return to the property. She's to have no further contact with John Lattimore, and she is to stay 200 yards away from him and not communicate with him in any way, form, or manner. Her next court date will be sent to her in the mail. While she's out on a signature bond, she'll report to pretrial once a month, not get arrested again, and also complete 12 anger management classes while out on bond. And these classes must be at her expense, and they must start within 60 days of release. Ms. Smith, as we've heard that Mr. Lattimore has already moved out, if he is on the property when you go back there, you cannot return to the property. Understand? You can only return if he has vacated the premises. And if he tries to communicate with you, or you reach out to him and the law and the authorities get involved, well, the only person going back to jail will be you. Thank you. Oh, no illegal drugs, alcohol, and no weapons.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Ms. McLeod, what's your other case?
My other case is Mr. Person.
Person.
Eddie Person, please.
Position 9 and 10.
Thank you. This is two separate cases against Mr. Eddie Person. The first one is position 9, 23 CR 002-470B, in which Mr. Person has been accused of battery, domestic violence from an incident date of February 28, 2023. Second case is 23 CR 002-472B, in which Mr. Person is accused of battery, domestic violence from an incident date of April 19th, 2023. Mr. Person, you have two open pending cases involving domestic violence. You have been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Ms. McLeod. Mr. Howard, any information on Mr. Persons?
42 total. 2020 hindering 911 call, criminal damage to property. 2019 battery. I got 2019 ag assault dismissed. 2018 simple battery DV obstruction. 2017 obstruction.
Thank you. Mr. Jones?
Yes, Your Honor. There are a couple of things I want to say with regards to his record. That 20 CR 00262J, that's the simple battery family violence. That is with the same victim in today's case, which is going to be Miss Kendra Barnes. In addition, that ag assault from 2019 is also with the same victim as well.
Mm-hmm.
In addition to that, here in both cases, the defendant in the 18 case, the 1823, the defendant grabbed the victim by the back of the neck and then by the right hand, causing notable lacerations. This was after throwing all of the victim's clothes outside. In response to that, the victim had to defend herself, so she hit the defendant with a fire extinguisher to get her off of him. To get him off of her. Your Honor, we are seeing an extreme escalation in behavior from the ag assault to the hindering. In addition to that, on that he has a 20 CR 0000081, which is a conviction of battery, which is a different victim, which shows that he just has a habit of putting his hands on people, which is why he's a danger to the community, Your Honor. Therefore, on the case ending in 18, we are asking for a $3,000 cash bond. Stay away from 1080 Regent Street Southwest, which is where the 18 case took place. No further contact, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons. And then on the case that ends in 19, the battery family violence.
I'm going to pause for a moment. I don't know what case numbers you're referring to. Are you referring to the magistrate?
I'm sorry.
Or the accusation numbers?
I'm sorry, Your Honor. I was referring to the magistrate, but let me pull up the actual calendar.
Well, position number 9 ends with 70, and position number 10 ends with 72.
Okay.
Position number 9 is the February event. Position number 10 is the April event. So maybe we can go with that.
Yes. So position number 9, Your Honor. We are requesting a $3,000 cash bond. Stay away from 1080 Regent Street Southwest. No further contact with the victim. No alcohol, drugs, and weapons. And then the other position number 10, we are requesting again a $3,000 cash bond and no further contact with the victim.
Thank you. Ms. McLeod?
Yes, Your Honor. My client is 56 years old. He has been and currently is disabled since 2011, so he does not work. As the court knows, being disabled, any income that you have is very limited. So he has a very limited income, just his disability income. My client denies that he was the aggressor in either of these incidents, Your Honor. He tells me that the alleged victim is in the habit of attacking him. He tells me that although they had a child together many years ago, this is an adult child in her 30s, and that they have not had a relationship for over 30 years. He said that she was pretty much homeless recently, and he allowed her to come by the house to stay for a little while. But this is his home, Your Honor. He owns this house, and he doesn't have anywhere else to live or any relatives that he can go to. So I would ask the court not to ask him to leave his home, because if that is the case, then he would be homeless. He would be on the street. He doesn't have the means to rent or, in other pay for any other kind of accommodation for himself. And given that he can't work, Your Honor, it would definitely put him in a bind if he had to leave his home. As for the cash bond, Your Honor, my client doesn't have any kind of money. He's not in no position to pay a cash bond. He would be hard pressed to pay a surety bond, Your Honor, never mind a cash bond. So I would ask the court to give him a surety bond instead of a cash bond. I understand that he has a significant history, so I am not going to ask the court to give him a signature bond, but I would ask the court to give him a low, good bond, which hopefully he'll be able to post. Nothing further, Your Honor.
Your Honor, if
Yes.
I may.
Yes, Mr. Jones.
Yes, Your Honor. The very first thing I want is to make sure that we sound for the victim. But the victim did tell our victim witness advocate that they are not in a relationship together. However, they do live at the incident location. They share one child, and Ms. McLeod was right. The residence does belong to the defendant, and he has been allowing her to stay there while she gets back on her feet. The victim stated that the defendant drinks when he drinks, he gets very belligerent and violent. In position 9, the defendant had been drinking that entire day. He has also, according to the victim, threatened to kill her. Again, he has a drinking and a drug problem. The victim would like for the defendant to get some kind of counseling or rehab, and that she is definitely afraid of the defendant due to the violent tendencies and their past history, Your Honor. And the victim stated that she wants no further contact with the defendant. But again, if the court can sound for her as well.
Ms. Kendra Barnes. Ms. Kendra Barnes, this will be the time to unmute and start your video. Okay. Position number 9 is a $1,500 cash bond only. Position 10 is a $1,500 cash bond only. No further contact with Kendra Barnes, and to stay away from the 1080 Regent Street, Southwest Atlanta location. He may return there one time only with a police officer to retrieve his personal belongings and or to verify that the property is empty and not occupied by Ms. Kendra Barnes. But if it's determined that Ms. Barnes still continues to live there, he cannot return to that property. Within 30 days of being released on bond, he must update the court with his current address. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, no weapons. I need Mr. Person also to, for the first 6 months while he's out on bond, to be equipped with an ankle monitor, and the monitoring fees will be paid by him. He's to stay 200 yards away from Ms. Barnes. He's not to call her by phone, by computer, on social media, or through a third party. Thank you. Next court date is going to be May 4th.
Judge, can you repeat the information about the ankle monitor?
Mr. Person, if this is not about your bond, I would suggest that you remain silent. Is this related to your bond?
I want to make one statement.
I can't hear you.
I want to make one statement. That was a witness that told the officer that I was assaulted. In the head, I have two staples in my head. A witness sat there and told the officer, and she said that I grabbed my arm.
Mr. Person.
Ooh, okay, Mr. Person, this will be not the time to go over your allegations because you're not going to make it easy for your attorney. As I was saying, yes, the ankle monitor requirement is that once he is released on bond, any type of bond, but upon release, He's required to be equipped with an ankle monitor to make sure that he stays away from Ms. Barnes. This ankle monitor must be in place for at least 6 months upon his release, and the monitoring fees shall be paid by Mr. Person. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. That concludes my business before the court today. May I be excused?
Yes, Ms. McLeod, the next court date for SAP is May 4th.
May 4th. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Position 6, Mr. Ingram.
Fontarian Ingram is charged with battery domestic violence from March 4th, 2023, case number 23CR 002479J. Mr. Ingram has been advised of his right to remain silent. His attorney is Ms. Woodbury. This is his 6th arrest. Anything else to add, Mr. Howard?
Last arrest was 2021 out of Alabama. Forgery, ID theft. I think the rest of his history is like marijuana possession. I don't think I saw any violence. I don't recall anyway.
All right, thank you. Mr. Jones?
Yes, Your Honor. So there is a FTA from 2023, which is why we believe that the defendant is a flight risk. In addition, the charge that the defendant picked up in Alabama in 2021 makes him a multi-state offender. Your Honor, what transpired on this day happened at 174 Maury Avenue. However, the officer made contact with the victim at Emory Hospital. The next day, the victim went to the hospital as she was coughing up blood. Upon going to the hospital, the victim told the officer that she was slammed on the ground by her kid's father and gave the name of Mr. Ingram. Your Honor, also the victim told our victim witness advocate that, sorry, one second, that she's the mother. She at this point is denying the fact that all of this even transpired. However, she did go to the hospital. She denied coughing up blood. Instead, she just tasted blood in her mouth. But she did remember speaking with the officer and giving the statement. We are extremely concerned because of the risk of intimidation here. Clearly, the victim is now changing her mind, which is why we are asking for the following bond, Your Honor.
Well, which is how much?
$3,000 surety bond. No further contact with Christy Coleman, which is the victim. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons. And I do believe I saw Miss Coleman on the line. Can you please sound for her, Your Honor?
She is. Miss Christy Coleman, if you'd like to contribute to the proceedings, please unmute and start your video.
Yes.
I can't see you. All right, you need to stop walking around.
Okay.
Do you have a quieter place to be? Do you have a place that's quieter?
I don't. I'm actually at work at the airport.
Well, you need to find yourself a spot where you can just stand and deal with this.
Okay, just a moment.
All right, while we're waiting for Ms. Coleman, Ms. Woodbury, what's your recommendation?
Yes, Your Honor. We are asking the court to consider a signature bond today, given that there has been some time since these allegations. Mr. Ingram, he's not a convicted felon. Judge, he was born in Atlanta. He's been in Atlanta his whole life. He does have 5 children here in Georgia, so he's not a flight risk. Judge, he has a bachelor's degree from the University of Mississippi, and he works for DeKalb County Sanitation as a refuse collector. Your Honor, based on what I know about the incident at this point and what my client tells me, I believe Ms. Coleman was jealous. There were some cheating allegations, and I think there's going to be questions about what exactly happened and who the primary aggressor was. So we'll ask for a signature bond today.
All right. Ms. Coleman, have you found your spot? All right, you need to sit down or stay still and start your audio. You need to unmute.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge? Yes
I
or
do.
no? Please keep in mind that we have the police officer's warrant containing your alleged statements. The officer was Geraldine Mozon, and she swore out the warrant on March 31st based on her interview with you on March 5th at 7:15 p.m. of this year. What would you like to tell me?
Basically, I was upset because of the cheating incident. It really didn't happen. I stumbled over my foot and I fell. I was being dramatic. I was just extremely upset with him.
So the comments that you made to the police officer, were they true or were they false?
It was false.
Okay. Mr. Jones, anything else to add?
Yes, Your Honor, I do have a couple of things to add. The very first thing I want to add is based off of opposing counsel's statement that she said she got from her own client. She's admitting that there was some kind of altercation, as she said her client told her that there was somebody who else was the primary aggressor. So that's number one. That clearly acknowledged that there was some situation here. Ms. Coleman, I do have a couple of questions for you.
Okay.
So, Ms. Coleman, you did go to Emory Hospital, correct?
Yes.
And did you tell the doctors that you were coughing up blood, correct?
No, I didn't say I was coughing up blood. I tasted blood, and that was from the impact from me falling.
Okay. Did you tell the doctors any information that could have led to them calling the police, such as that your child's father slammed you to the ground?
Yes, I did. I told a false statement to the doctors because I was
Okay.
upset.
And then once the officers arrived, you told them the exact same statement, correct?
Yes.
And then, moreover, you gave the officers your child's father's name, correct?
I did.
Because he wasn't there at the time, correct?
Correct.
And you never mentioned anything about falling.
No, I was being very dramatic because I was upset with him.
All right. No further questions, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right. Bond is going to be set at $3,500. That's going to be a signature bond through pretrial services. Mr. Ingram, if you'd like to keep the signature bond, you would have to comply with the following conditions. Failure to comply with these conditions can result in your bond being revoked and you being back in jail. The first condition is no further contact with Christy Coleman. You have to stay 200 yards away from her. You're not to communicate with her in person through a third party, a cell phone, a computer, or even try to reach her on social media. There's going to be no third party transfer of the children. If you wish to have joint custody or visitation with any children that you share with Ms. Coleman, you shall file a legitimation action and get a court order to establish visitation and custody with any child or children that you share with Ms. Coleman. While you are released on a signature bond, you will enroll and complete a 24-week domestic violence intervention program, and that program must be done at your expense and within 60 days of being released. You're not to consume any illegal drugs, no alcohol. You'll be subject to random screens by pretrial, and you're not to own or possess any firearms. As the Maury Avenue is not Ms. Coleman's address, I guess I'm not going to put a stay away at this time. Thank you.
Position 5. Mr. Hughley.
La Francia Hewley is accused of criminal trespass from April 19th, 2023. This is case 23 CR 002-480C. Mr. Hewley, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Ms. Wills. Understand this is his 19th arrest. Any prior trespass matters, Mr. Howard?
2023, trespass, obstruction, arrest. 2019, he was arrested 4 times for trespass. One of them was a conviction. And he's on parole. Okay.
Ms. Bickerstaff?
Yes, Your Honor, quickly, this incident occurred on April 19th at the Exxon gas station at 1959 Lakewood Avenue, where when officers arrived to the location, they spoke with Mr. Dada, who informed them that the defendant was causing problems at the gas station. And he showed the officer a video of the defendant throwing a beer can at the store window. The defendant has been given trespass warnings at this location previously, Your Honor. Just this year on March 9th, 2023, the defendant had a bond condition to stay away from this exact location, Your Honor. For these reasons, the state's recommendation is a $1,000 surety bond. And again, to stay away from the Exxon gas station at 1959 Lakewood Avenue, as well as no alcohol, drugs, or weapons while on bond.
Okay. Ms. Wills?
Thank you, Your Honor. My client is 31 years old, and he denies the allegations as alleged. However, he has stated that he will not be returning back to the premises. He is currently unemployed. For that reason, I'll be asking for a signature on bond in the amount of $2,000. If Your Honor is not so inclined, I would ask for a $500 surety bond.
Okay. The 22 SC 184007 case referenced by pretrial was one in which Mr. Hewley pled guilty on April 6th of this year, and he got arrested again for CT on April 19th. Mr. Hewley is a recidivist where this is charge is concerned. Bond is set at $1,000 surety bond. To stay away from the Exxon gas station, including the sidewalk and the parking lots at 1959 Lakewood Avenue, and to have no further contact with, I think it was Mr. Fanu Dutta, D-U-T-T-A, FNU, then the last name is Dutta, D-U-T-T-A. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, no weapons, and his next court date is going to be May 4th. Thank you.
What was that bond, Your Honor?
1,000.
Okay, thank you. Position 12, Mr. Tart.
Your Honor, while they bring Mr. Tart to the front, I do believe the person that was kicked out is here on this case. I'm not for sure if she's in the waiting room at this point, but if we can.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Lewis, is there anyone in the waiting room at the present time? I think they had the street name
coming in, but she left the waiting room. She didn't come back on. She's out. She logged off.
All right, and is Mr. Stupian still on the Zoom? Mr. James Stupian?
Yes, I'm here, Your Honor. Yes.
Okay, and who are you here for?
Monique Mayfield.
All right. If you'd like to say something, I need to place you under oath.
Yes.
You solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, Your Honor, I do.
What would you like to tell me?
Your Honor, that girl, she got arrested yesterday, and the whole thing was uncalled for. That is not necessary for a law-abiding citizen like that girl to get arrested the way she did. She didn't do anything to get arrested.
Mr. Stupian, Mr. Stupian.
Yes. Yes.
She's got a signature bond through pretrial. She'll be released within 24 hours, but she's got an active case. In the meantime, no.
Because
I'm going to have you removed. I'm going to have you removed if you interrupt. And you need to stay in one place.
Okay.
Are you still occupying the premises at 1099 Boulevard?
Yes.
All right. You can stay there. She can't. End of story. If you have a question, you can reach out to the Solicitor's Victim Advocate Office and
So-
they'll explain that in greater detail.
So how can I write? So I need to write now. I need to write a grievance.
You
because,
need, no. If you have any issues with this case, you need to contact the Victim Advocate's Office at the Solicitor General's office.
I talked to them this morning, and I specifically made it clear that what
You're
the
walking around
officers did
again, you're
yesterday-
walking around again, you're walking around again.
I'm sorry. I'm standing right here.
Just the last time I'm gonna tell you. If you have a complaint about the incident, you would need to hire an attorney and take that matter up with the appropriate agency.
I'm the victim, though.
Listen very
Right.
carefully. Listen very carefully. If you have a grievance about what occurred yesterday, you need to hire an attorney and take the matter up with appropriate agency.
All right. This is an inconvenience for me. I'm a victim. This is all inconvenience for me. Everything that the
All right.
judge is doing, that the court is doing, this is all unnecessary, and it's causing me a lot
Mr.
of
Lewis,
problems.
we
And
can
I'm the
remove him
victim,
from the Zoom,
and I'm
please.
the victim.
Thank you. All right, moving on to position number 12, we have Kristen Todd, case number 23 CR 002474D. Mr. Todd is accused of battery, domestic violence from November 18th, 2022. And I understand this is his 30th arrest. Mr. Howard,
Yeah.
anything else to add?
Let's see.
I see
got
an
an
open
open-
case. Does he have an open case or a probation case?
The ag assault DV, possession of a firearm or knife during the commission, harassing communications, 22 CP 207236, simple assault, 22 CR 006598D. North Carolina got assault on a female that appears to be open. 2023 possession of drug paraphernalia conviction. 2020 communicating threats conviction. 2019 failure to appear. 2018 hit and run conviction. 2016 assault on police, false pretenses conviction.
Oh, that's good. Thank you. Mr. Jones, what is your bond recommendation for Mr. Todd?
Yes, Your Honor. I also want to bring up that in 2021, the defendant had an FTA on a battery charge. Also, the fact that the defendant has 15 cycles and the cycles didn't start until 2018, and we're just in 2023. Your Honor, also a risk of intimidation. The victim and the defendant are in a relationship. She refused medical treatment here. Also, in that 22 CP 207236 case, the defendant was ordered no contact with the victim, a $35,000 straight bond, and a 24-hour curfew. Clearly, the defendant is not adhering to those requirements, so I'm not for sure if the defendant will adhere to these. What took place on this instance was on 11/18 of 2022. Officers met the victim, Ms. Kiki Bell, and the victim advised officers that she was assaulted by the defendant all over a argument about a relationship with another woman. During the argument, Ms. Bell stated that the defendant hit her with an open hand on the left cheek while holding her four-month-old baby in the hand, attempting to get her and her baby to safety, Your Honor. The victim ran upstairs. However, that wasn't enough. The defendant came in and pushed through the door, actually hitting the baby in the head with the door, Your Honor, and then the defendant fled off in the victim's car. For those reasons, Your Honor, we are asking for a $3,000 cash bond, no further contact with the victim, Kiki Bell, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons, a stay away from 662 Providence Place, and I'm not for sure if the victim is on at this time, but if I'll ask that the court sound for her at the appropriate time.
I think we can, Miss Kiki Bell. She was the one who was not controlling her audio until she had to be removed from the Zoom. She did come back in, but I think she's fallen off again.
Yes, Your
All
Honor.
right. Mr. Todd, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Ms. Woodbury. Ms. Woodbury, what's the defense's recommendation?
Yes, Your Honor. Our recommendation is a $2,000 surety bond. Judge, Mr. Tart, he's 27 years old. He's been in Georgia since 2017. He does have 5 children with Ms. Bell, and he does support those children. He works doing security for a company called Advanced Security. And Judge, we're just asking the court to grant him a surety bond today. I don't know if he'll be able to make a cash bond.
All right. Bond is set at $2,500 cash only. No further contact with Kiki Bell, and no alcohol, drugs, and weapons. Mr. Todd, you do have a Cherokee County hold. So once you bond out, you can only be released to that hold. You also have a bench warrant in your open felony case in which you are in a no bond status. So I'd highly recommend that you exercise your right to remain silent. But if you waive your right to remain silent, then your words can be used against you. Please unmute courtroom 2.
Your Honor, I know I have a hold in another county and whatnot, but I'm not gonna be able to make a $25,000 cash bond, $2,500 cash bond. I'm just not. So I'm not from here. I don't have any family up here. I don't have anybody.
Mr. Tart, you're going to be given another court date in about 2 weeks. I would advise you to remain silent at this time.
All right.
Next court date is May 4th. Thank you.
Position 2, Mr. Fleming.
This is State versus Devery Fleming, accused of battery from February 22nd, 2021. Case number 23 CR 002-477G. Mr. Fleming, you've been advised of your right to remain silent. Your attorney is Ms. Wills. I can't recall. I think this was
7 total.
7. Okay.
2013 assault battery conviction. 2012 breach of peace conviction. That was out of state. As far as Georgia, you got a robbery by force, aggravated assault, 22 SC 182443. On probation out of Bibb County for theft by taking. 2019, they gave him 5 years probation. That's it.
He's got a probation hold. Is that the Bibb County? Is that the probation hold?
Probably so. Because he on probation in Bibb, so it could be.
Okay,
But he do got the open felony in Superior Court.
understood. Thank you. Ms. Bickerstaff?
Yes, Your Honor. So this incident occurred February 22nd, 2021 at 156 Forsyth Street, where the defendant punched Mr. Malik Anderson in the face, leaving him with a bloody nose, Your Honor. I would like to sound for Mr. Anderson if he's on the call, but for these reasons, the state's recommendation is a $3,000 surety bond, a 1-day anger awareness course, no further contact with Mr. Anderson, and to stay away from the incident location, as well as no alcohol, drugs, or weapons while out on bond.
All right, thank you. Ms. Wills?
Thank you, Your Honor. My client is 30 years old. He adamantly denies the allegations as alleged and states that he has evidence where the victim has reached out to him, denying the claims, although the victim was injured on that date. He has evidence showing that the aggressor was someone other than the defendant. The victim continues to reach out to my client, and he wishes to not have any further contact or communication with the alleged victim in this case, and they haven't. This incident occurred over 2 years ago. My client is employed by Clorox. And for those reasons, I would be asking for a signature bond, Your Honor, in the amount of $3,000. If you're not so inclined, I would ask for a $1,000 surety bond.
All right. Bond set at $1,500. It is a surety bond. He does, as I've already indicated, he does have a Bibb County hold, and he does have those 2 open felony cases. So I'm not certain what's going to happen there, but in either event, no further contact with Malik Anderson, and no alcohol, no drugs, no weapons and firearms. His next court date is May 4th. Thank you. Next case, please. Oh, sorry. Yes, Mr. Fleming?
You said I have 2 open felony cases?
Yes. One is, I don't know what, I think that's a probation case, 22 SC. That was the robbery by force charge. And the other one is the new open one, 23 CP 17864. I may be reading that case number wrong.
Okay,
But
I have
it's
another
for,
question.
all right, thank you.
I apologize.
Oh.
I was on when I first got on probation from Bibb County, I transferred to Fulton County. So I don't understand how I'm back on probation with Bibb County when I transferred to Fulton County.
I don't have access to the Bibb County warrant, so I have no idea what to tell you.
All right.
Thank you.
Excuse me, Judge, there was no stay away on that order, was there?
Oh, I think it was a public place, so I don't know if to stay away, but it's no further contact with Malik Anderson.
Okay.
Judge Law, we are done in courtroom 2. Position 3 bonded out.
Okay.
That should complete the calendar.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. I'll see you later then. Have a good week.
You
Thank
too.
you.
Thank you.
All right. For the attorneys, position number 1, Mr. Aquart was $1,000 surety bond reset to May 4th. Position 2, Fleming's 1,500 surety reset to May 4th. Position 3 is going to be further notice as she was released on bond. Position 4 is a 4,000 signature bond through pretrial. Further notice. Position 5, Hewley is $1,000 surety reset May 4th. Position 6, Ingram is a 3,500 signature bond through pretrial, and that's also further notice. Position 7 is a 4,500 signature bond through pretrial, further notice with the cosigner requirement. Position 8, Mayfield is a $5,000 signature bond through pretrial, further notice. 9, Person and is a $1,500 cash bond only. 10 is a $1,500 cash bond only, and further reset to May 4th. Position 11 is a 3,500 signature bond through pretrial, further notice, and 12 is a 2,500 cash bond only, reset date May 4th. I think that concludes the calendar. Any questions?
I'm about to send you this waiver.
Okay, sounds good.
Mr. Howard, you said one of them was per judge?
They all per judge.
They all per judge? Okay.
Yes, all the violent charges.
Okay.
Now, okay, everyone, you all have a great weekend. I'll see you next week. Take care.
Thank you, Your
Thank
Honor.
you, guys.
Thank you.
I'll get these over to you.
Thank you, Ms. Lewis.